Hello and welcome to Introduction to Epistemology. And today we are going to discuss about knowledge and belief, and we are going to compare both of the things. But let me discuss initially that that usually the knowledge is considered as distinct value, and it is presumed that knowledge is more valuable compared to true belief. And this is a wide held people usually talk about knowledge, and they more talk in terms of knowledge rather than they are talking about true belief. And the wide acceptance of knowledge is actually of distinctive value and among the different philosophers, and the reason behind is because of the practice or practical value. And usually knowledge can be practicable, and that's why it's because of its practice or practical value, it is considered more distinctive as compared to true belief. And but philosophers somehow they disagree, and they call it as a value problem. We will discuss in another topic. But in usually the knowledge is considered as more valuable because of its practice or practical value. And for example, if we take a look of the practice, for example, if we know that how we used our knowledge to drive the car, or we use the practical knowledge, or we use the knowledge of, for example, for handling the machine, or for doing some services, or for doing some job. So most of the knowledge that we carry is used for practice for different skills, because the skills that we use in our current era, we use the knowledge to learn different skills, and then these skills like driving the car, or running the machine, or using any equipments or any tools, they are considered as the knowledge which we learn, and we get some skills, and then we apply in our daily life to implement them. But obviously there are some philosophers that disagree there, and we will discuss in this topic. So the first important thing is that the knowledge is more valuable compared to true belief, which is widely acceptable in different fields. Let's talk about a great Western philosopher named Socrates, which is a Greek philosopher and one of the founders of Western philosophy. And according to him, he said that and he preferred knowledge over true belief, and the reason that he gave is because of the stability. Knowledge is stable compared to true belief. And for example, if I give you a common example in our daily life, for example, if you have a laptop and you have a knowledge that how you can install the laptop Windows, or how can you use your Microsoft Office, or how can you develop a software, or how can you develop a database, or how can you do research, like for example collection of the data. These all knowledge is stable and consistent. For example, if you know how to install the Windows, the knowledge that you learn from somewhere, whether you learn from the institution or you learn from online, is remains same. It will not change. Like for example, today you have a knowledge to install the software, and tomorrow the knowledge has suddenly changed. Whereas in true belief, the knowledge is not stable, it is changed, and we will discuss later on that why it's changed so much. But according to Socrates, he also preferred knowledge over true belief because of the stability. According to Socrates, he considered true belief like a deadless. And what is deadless? Deadless is actually a metaphor. Like for example, in the past, like for example, we can say that a person that having the artificial wings, and that wings will use to fly, like people in the past, because obviously in the past we don't have any airplane, and then people try different methods how to move faster from one place to another place. So they make some artificial feathers, and then like this picture that you can see, and they call it as name as deadliest, which actually is the word used as metaphor, like a free form. And let me add one more thing, that okay, we call deadliest as a free form, but actually who invented that? Actually you have to understand the history behind that, deadliest is actually also a person who is very you can say that architect in nature, and he is very knowledgeable, and he actually developed the artificial wings, and he tried to fly in the air with these artificial wings, and it is well known in Greek mythology who create these wings, and that's why we know this person as deadliest, which is actually a skillful architect or craftsman. And then okay, obviously the deadliest term is used as metaphor, like a free flowing object that use the wings to fly, and then they use this term as deadliest as a metaphor, as free form, and they resemble the true belief as deadliest. So this is the history behind this word. As we are not going to discuss history, so that's why I'm not going to explain in detail. And true belief, he resembled the term true belief with like a deadliest, which is a free form version of knowledge which tend to be lost, and whereas the knowledge is stable, it could not be lost somewhere. So that's, and you can see that the belief of people from time to time, from if you take a look on history, it changed from different eras. And obviously you can see that the knowledge in the Bronze Age or in the Silver Age or in the current modern era is not same, especially when we talk about true belief, it is not same. So that's why he considered, or he called true belief as deadliest, and deadliest is actually a metaphor term for free form or free moving object. How can we explain a true belief with in next slide I gave one example of one travel or one road which goes to Larissa, which is actually a famous city in France. And what happened that if, for example, someone is going to Larissa, which is actually a long route to go or travel over there, and what has happened that the person is believed that okay, this road is going to Larissa, and with that belief the person is traveling to that road. But if, for example, person is only believing that this road is going to Larissa with only a hunch which is defined as maybe a guess, or maybe his feeling to that this road will travel to go to that place. What happened that because the road is very long and the journey is quite long, and maybe at some point, because he don't know actual place, whether the place will really exist in that straight road, and maybe he unable to find any indicator. And what happened that during travel to that place, at some point the person lose that faith, and then he go back to the place where he came from, compared to another person that he have the knowledge how to travel to Larissa, and then he used the knowledge using his map. Maybe, for example, if we are today living in the modern era, the person is using GPS to see okay where the map is, how we go to Larissa, and then with that knowledge and with the help of obviously the application with the software, he will not go back, because even if, for example, the road is very long, it take maybe 100-200 kilometer, he will not go back because he don't have the belief in that, because he have the knowledge how to travel to that place. So that is the difference between a person that is only travel with the belief, and if a person is someone have belief, maybe he or she can go back, he can change the direction, and maybe he unable to reach. Whereas if a person have knowledge, and the knowledge is more reliable, and with the help of the map or with GPS, the person will reach to the destination. So that's how we can compare the knowledge with which is a practice or practicable thing compared to the true belief. And let me clear that Larissa is a place not in France, it is actually a place in the Greece. So this is a perfect example how can we compare knowledge versus true belief. Let now put one question that we already mentioned, that knowledge is more valuable than practice. But the question is there, what is meant to say that knowledge is distinctively valuable? And this is very important question that we need to address in our next heading, which is the value problem. There are some things that must be satisfied before we call as knowledge is more valuable. Because sometimes the justification or the knowledge we consider is more valuable, in practical sense it is not actually practicable or is not as valuable compared to true belief. So we have to understand that when we consider something knowledge and we consider the value of that knowledge which we compare with true belief, and that knowledge which is more valuable, we must understand that knowledge must be valuable with some solid information that must be present. For example, I give one example of the baseball. For example, Yankees is a baseball team in America, and Steve believes that Yankees are good baseball team because he thinks that the pinstriped uniforms are so sharp looking, and that's why the Yankees is a good baseball team. So his belief is only based upon the dressing of the team, which is quite weird and terrible reason. And even the Yankees is a good team, but his belief or his reason of or his knowledge of that Yankees is a good baseball team because of their uniform color or the type of their uniform is not a good reason. Because obviously knowledge, there are different kind of knowledge. The type of color, the how the uniform look like is also the knowledge. But the justification that Steve is giving is actually we can say that is nothing to do with actually team which is playing a good baseball team. It means that good baseball team is not actually playing because they are wearing a good uniform, but obviously it's because of their skills that they're using to play in the field. So that is very important. When we talk about primary value problem, the more important thing is that the information of or the value of knowledge is very important, because sometimes the knowledge the person have is not sufficient or not practicable or not sufficient to keep that information to explain some context. For example, in that case, that Yankees is playing good baseball because of their dressing, because of their uniform. So that is very important, and we have to understand that to understand about the knowledge consists of different items, and not only because of the knowledge of something wearing well or wearing sharp colors is sufficient to believe that someone is good. And that's why in next slide, if you take a look, that in order to count something as a knowledge, the knowledge must be valuable or must be suitable or must be have some sense or justified to say. Like I mentioned there, like in order to count as knowledge, a belief has to be well justified in some suitable sense. I have given another paragraph from the textbook source, and which I want to discuss in short version, that we are talking about a difference of value. And difference of value, when we talk about in term of knowledge, is either the knowledge or the value is we are discussing in term of degree, or we are talking in term of kind. And I want to give a simple example how can we differentiate between degree and kind. And the simple example is, for example, when we talk about degree is like, for example, we have a dog, and maybe one dog, we have two dogs, one is small dog and then the other dog is the big in size, and we call it one small dog. And then we have another big dog, which is because of the age, obviously the big dog is large in size. And this is the comparison between small and large is can call as degree of one thing small or large. Like, for example, if they are in the class, some students are small in size, some students are tall or high. So this is example of the degree. But when we talk about kind, we usually talk about kind or type is like a dog, a difference between a dog and a cat. So that's how the knowledge is counted or considered as. So usually when we talking about the knowledge, we only focus on a degree, but in fact actually the knowledge is not a matter of degree, it must be of different kind. So that the example of small dog or large dog, or the size of the students small and large is explained in terms of degree. So knowledge must not be like in terms of degree, but in terms of different value, in terms of different things, and that is considered as knowledge. So if we go back to previous example, for example, Yankees is playing a good match, they are good team, is not because of their uniform, but it's because of their skills. And we are talking about different kind of skills, and that's how I explain something in terms of knowledge, which is more valuable. That's why when the researchers are doing some research, they always try to produce different kind of knowledge in different perspective. We will discuss not in this lecture, but that's how the knowledge could be explained. If the knowledge is more valuable than belief, then knowledge must be of different kind rather than it must be a degree. So this is explained in this paragraph, and I explain in simple terms. In the next slide, we're talking about tertiary value problem. And when we talk about the value of knowledge, we have to understand another thing, that the knowledge must be continue. And I mentioned here that why the long history of epistemological discussion has focused specifically on the continuum of value of knowledge that mark rather than some other stage. The question is that there is very important thing that we are discussing in this slide, that whether we focus only on continuum of knowledge. Like, for example, we have knowledge of, for example, we identify one species. For example, biologists, they identify new herb or new medicinal plant, and then they're talking about, okay, that's knowledge that, for example, this medicinal plant or this herb is have broad leaves, they have a red flower, and they have a tall stem. And then the question arises that whether we only focus on continuum of that knowledge, we are discussing or describing in detail about that how this medicinal plant look like, rather than maybe we change to a different value. Like I discussed a kind, like a comparison, I discussed a dog or cat is different kind, or maybe we discussing about, for example, what are the constitute of that medicinal plant, or what this medicinal herb consists of. So that's now a different perspective. Or we're discussing, okay, that this medicinal herb is grow in which part of the world. So this is a technical discussion, this is an epistemological discussion, whether we only focus on continuum of specific knowledge, or we may move to the knowledge on different context or some other stage. So that's how we can explain the degree or the kind, and that is called as tertiary value problem. So obviously some philosophers, they believe on continuum of value of same knowledge, whereas some researchers or philosophers, they believe that we more focus on kind of knowledge rather than a degree of knowledge. So that's today's lectures. Thank you so much. Hope to see you again.